I think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
Anyway, Kevin O'Leary, for whatever reason, was interviewing Chris Hedges, and Chris Hedges is talking about how the Republican Party is like, and this is before the time of racist grandpa. He's talking about how the Republicans in America are a radical party. Like everybody claims that the left is radical, but it's the other way around. Like they have every interest in an actual revolution of government, and that not towards democracy, but elsewhere. And Kevin O'Leary was like, "You sound like a what did he call him? like a pinko wingnut, something like that."
No.
And like Chris, he lost his fucking mind. He was like, "Am I on Fox News?" And he left the interview.
That's awesome.
It was very much a Fox News sort of ambush bullshit interview.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I think of when I think of that fucking guy.
Yeah. Just weird that he would even like. What was he
there was a brief.
Interviewing?
Well, he was a media personality at the time. He hadn't made the shift to politics. Like he had a co-host with him. I don't know.
Should be able to read the room, because like his thing has always been like, he's the guy who's like, capitalism's good, like greed is good, it helps, good to be greedy, and like that's his whole like, where his politics
I think Hedges trusted that the CBC didn't have that sort of person on it.
That's true.
It just comes down to that.
Yeah.
Because he was genuinely shocked. Like you could hear it in everything he said, like, and in the way that he left the interview. Yeah.
Wow.
Anything on your end, Chris? Any excitement? See Chris Hedges lately?
I have not seen Chris Hedges. I have no excitement. There's no excitement going on here. I'm trying to think of anything relevant.
Man. I fucking hear you.
Yeah. Just trying to get.
Had a little bit of it. Yeah. A little bit of a head cold over here. Nothing serious.
Yeah. Doesn't sound too bad, man.
Yeah. Well, I went to the old fight club and we did the fighting and the whatnot. And
you infected the club.
That's right.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
What? Everybody's fine.
No, man. They're like hitting you in the gut and you're like, and you're.
Oh yeah, we do a lot of breathing, a lot of like, yeah,
right in the face.
Oh, get right in the face.
Yeah. I've been wrestling with someone and I've felt the moment when they infected me, like when they just, and their like spit goes in my mouth and I'm just like, oh fuck. Well, that's probably where this head cold came from.
You get that a lot more with kids too.
Exactly.
They fucking sneeze directly into your mouth and you're like, that's that.
You fucking feel it. I think that COVID made me more sensitive to the concept of infection. But nonetheless, it's still there, man. It's an indelible. You cannot.
What I see, there's I like this. It was like on Instagram or something like that, and it was just like somebody's quote saying, I used to pride myself on having a great immune system, but actually I was just great at avoiding people who sneeze directly into my eyeball. like being a parent, it's so true.
Hey, good skill to have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All wasted when the children are around.
Yeah.
Especially those like early grade school years, it's like constant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing grade 1 right now, and I'll tell you,
fuck.
I know for a fact, like when the cold hits her, that's it for me too. Like,
yeah. Oh boy, it's tough to be dads.
Sucks
to be dads in the world.
Yeah. What if you're everyone's dad? Like,
what if you're everyone's dad?
Like daddy?
Children.
Oh, I see. Well, that would be like a school for gifted children, perhaps?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that would be interesting. You would lose your hair and probably for a brief period, occasionally the ability to walk.
Hair, man.
Sensitive topic.
Yeah. And you might gain psychic powers. Maybe we're not there yet. I wouldn't unless you're reading my mind right now. Stay out of my personal fantasies.
Stay out of it.
We'll see.
Yeah. We'll see about that. Anyway, Extinction Agenda. Hello, everyone. It's James.
James.
Chris.
And today we're returning to our Grant Morrison new X-Men commentary. There's going to be a pause after this because, I don't know, I'm just looking at our schedule. And we probably won't touch on this topic again until like mid-November or like tail end of November. So, get it hot. Find your nourishment now.
Well,
I don't know.
Riot at Xavier.
Yeah.
Riot at Xavier's is a breeze through the bank account. So.
I just mean it for listening to us.
Just not on the schedule.
No, not yet. It will be.
Yeah, just relax.
Cool it, everybody. We're doing issues 127 through to 130. Where's my pieces of paper here? So they came out between June 2002 and August of 2002, or were cover dated August 2002 to October 2002. We got Jean Paul Leon with Bill Sienkiewicz doing art on ability to be like a penciler. Oh, am I still there?
I don't know. I lost you.
I dropped you for a second. Yeah.
You dropped me for a second. Well, we'll see whether it caught my recording. I continue to be impressed with Corday's ability to pencil and ink himself. And I think this is a good showing for him because he had time to work on it. It's still weird in that Corday way.
Yeah.
Oh no. Huh? Okay. Well, we'll I'm still impressed with his prodigious output.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when somebody
Glad
throws
you're
out
happy.
like so much, you're like, how are you still alive?
Wow, that's a funny analogy. So let's get down to the main event. New X-Men number 127, which is a Zorn, the Zorn issue. Like this. I love this fucking cover with Zorn like contemplating the cheeseburger. I love that. If I could own one piece of Frank Quitely art, this would be it.
It's a great cover.
Yeah. And a great use of shadow. There's the shadow. He's floating, right? Like, what the fuck? Is this the hint? Is this how we're supposed to know he's Magneto?
No, actually, this entire book goes through a lot of exposition that just makes it so that it's not possible that he's Magneto.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Nice to see that you're on the winning team again now. Thanks.
Yeah, you know what I wish though? I wish like a ludicrous effort was made to justify it. I feel like that would have made me feel better, or at least been funnier.
Oh, you won't get a ludicrous effort, but you're going to get an offhand coupled statements.
Well, see, I would like a ludicrous effort. Like I'd like a monk to be like on the sidelines, like rubbing his hands together with like an evil smile, like he fucking knew the whole time and he helped build a stupid story. Like
that would be good.
Like that. That would have been better.
Yeah. Anything would have been better, frankly. But at this point, we have no reason to think that there's going to be any reveal. And I loved this issue. I've been looking forward to talking about this particular issue since we started the project. And the time has come. The time has come now. What did you? I don't know. What did you guys think of it? I mean, I've read this one a lot. This is another one of my favorite comics. Like the 1-2 punch of issue 126 and 127. Like, wow. I was in hog heaven, and I've continued to stay there throughout my entire adult life.
Yeah, I think this is my favorite single issue so far. Love the Zorn issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you there. This was a great issue, and also I like the art, and I don't know why we didn't get more of that. But
we'll get it. Well, Jean Paul Leon's going to show up more later. He does some issues from time to time until they're able to get Phil Jimenez on board as a regular artist, someone who can actually like anchor the book. Yeah, they're fucking flailing, but I mean, I'm glad that they got this fella. So
yeah, well, I'm glad they got it for this issue too, because this issue was nice because it was sort of a standalone.
Yeah, good old standalone. You love a standalone too.
I do. It's an old thing.
Yeah. No, it's good. I mean, you need them from time to time, right? And we haven't had an opportunity to actually get to know Zorn. Like, we've gone through over 13 issues, I think, if you include the annual, and he's just kind of a stereotype. He's kind of an interesting character with steam coming out of his head. And this is the first opportunity for us to get to know him, and get to know him we do. What do we get to know about Mr. Zorn?
He's a great man of peace. I mean,
He's
offbeat. Like, I like this issue. I like that he's just wandering the streets of like rough New York, whatever, sort of like, I don't know, almost in like what is this, like Daredevil sort of Hell's Kitchen for mutants or whatever. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense that he's wandering in and out of the X Mansion and then somehow back on the streets. I don't understand why he's going to visit random apartments. I mean, I like, the only thing is that his like healing power gives him this empathetic like pull toward like mutants that are like in pain or suffering, and for some reason he is able to just sort of like march around on the streets and he still gets debris thrown at him and shit, but he's still able to sort of like cruise around. And this is more of like a post-apocalyptic like mutant future that you're dealing with. And this is one of the big examples too that you were talking about, James, where it's like there was a mutant apocalypse and there's no hint of that at all.
Yeah.
It's just that the city's basically like it's still like 30% mutants, just wandering the streets and shit. It doesn't make a whole like a sense, but.
Well, they think there's a mutant town. Like it's like going down to Church Street here in Toronto, I think, is what they're trying to portray here. But still, though, I don't know. Like something is missing, though. That the what we understand the trauma of a mass genocide to inflict on society, like the discourse. I mean, you think of what's going on in Israel right now. Like you hear about it all the time, right? And it affects every day. Yeah. Right. Well, these numbers are like true Holocaust levels, like in 16 million mutants within a few hours. Like that's woof.
Yeah. So you figure there would just be less.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Or I don't know. Something would be different, but still, though, they are being ghettoized. Like it's not like everybody's just living a happy life. Like
true.
There are people, walking around with nuke 'em all genetic pride signs, so things aren't so good. But this isn't. I think my point though is that this isn't how society reacts to mass traumas. They don't become more hateful in that moment. They go through a performative tolerance and a performative reconciliation. Like the X-Men cartoon did this well. The cartoon understood the politics a lot better than Morrison understood it. Like, and all they had to do, ironically, in 2002 is just look out the window. Now I know that Islamophobia, shot up dramatically, but there was still a coming together of people in that moment, and that's kind of missing here. But that's fine, whatever. The X-Men are there to get everybody to think calm thoughts.
Yeah, there's still that obsession with, or like that kind of like goading of celebrity that maybe Ecstatics influences, but that idea of like, oh, like it's Jean Grey, like get her autograph, then burn her.
Yeah.
The mob is kind of shouting. They're still like awed by the fact that she's there.
I think that whole scene is funny, and that's another thing that makes it very strange. Like, nobody here is a monster, and someone holds up a dog leg. Tell that to Snuffy.
Yeah.
I need my medicine. Yeah, they're monsters. They all support one another.
He got eaten.
Yeah.
Come on, that's enough.
Yeah.
It's kind of history. Yeah, fascinating. That was a little more topical than I thought.
I think what makes it fresh again is that, like, these are familiar themes in X-Men and in racism, that sort of thing. But Zorn's coming out of isolation from, like he says, he spent his time in an iron cell, but in a state of deep meditation, and now he doesn't know what he is or where he is, or he's just trying to get a handle on the world and the city. Even that he's compelled to heal people, but he's constantly confronted with this sort of like this simultaneous knowledge that if things if mutants are left to develop, they'll become like fantastic, like wonderful things, but the sort of like short term like trigger instinct of humanity, the sort of fear response. I mean, it sounds like it is so basic in a lot of ways, but it's so emotionally realized in this.
Yeah, like it does ring true, even though it's given like a ridiculous sheen. It's just like I don't know what Morrison's thinking when they do this, but I was really stuck by they're all monsters. Look at them; they all support one another. And I was thinking about what I had said last time about the X-Men as a mutual aid society, a mutual aid organization. Like there's something even like of a fear of communism or anarchism, or like they're like, how dare they help each other? Fucking Antifa, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And it's, I mean, the irony is that like the community, like the coming together is like the antithesis of like, the monster is something that would like destroy community and like rend things apart. But
yeah. So what I love about these issues that and in Morrison's run a little going forward, we're getting. I said this in our original conversation, James, with way back when we just glossed over Morrison's X-Men, talking about the beginning and the end, and how upset I was with Joss Whedon for re-traumatizing Professor X. Like this is a Professor X who's all that onslaught bullshit, all those nasty things that he'd done in the past, which aren't as nasty as like they will become later. They've all been excised in the form of Cassandra Nova. They've literally been like, he's faced his dark side and he's expelled it and he's been reborn. And this is such a pure and interesting and thoughtful Professor X. Like this is what I show up for. Like we actually didn't get a lot of Professor X up until this point. He was there and then he was replaced by Cassandra Nova and then he's gone. Right? So finally he's back, and we never actually really got to know him in the first place. And the worldview that he possesses, that we're starting to get a sense of what's behind the X-Men's ideology about this, notions of tribes, gathering around flags and books and laws. And he really has this abstract notion of human sociality and this like universal, like we're all one idea that makes sense as a motivating force for the X-Men, right? Like there is no word for monster in the mutant dictionary. There's just being. And I really like that. Although I'm going to have some critical things to say as we continue, but yeah.
Well, it's true. And what you're saying about Xavier too, because you only get the first little snippet, and this is the first sort of like calm, like the first lull, because even when you did have Xavier and the Cassandra Nova thing, you still even the little snippets that you got at the beginning was all like wartime.
Yeah, he's gonna blow his own brains out.
And then there's
shown to be badass, but
there was no relaxation though. Like there was no downtime. There was no time for this sort of like introspective to actually like give you the lay of the land or the lay of his ideology. Mm-hmm. And now there is, and this was sad too. This book makes me sad. This first issue with the mutant, like the mom and the son. This actually is so fucking dark. But,
yeah. And also like kind of a funny throwback to like Jack Kirby monsters. Like the illustrate, like the design of the child, like this horned devil creature who's not well, it's just a mom taking care of her sick kid, but the kid happens to be like a 14-foot tall demon creature.
It's a little Hellboyish, sort of in theme, and
well, that's the Jack Kirby thing, right? It's that sort of blocky because they used to do all sorts of Marvel Comics used to do monster comics like before there were superheroes. Marvel Comics was like romance comics and monster comics, and Stan Lee and Jack Kirby did monster comics, and that's why the Fantastic Four fights that monster at the beginning. And it's a classic sort of. They would just be these rampaging monsters, and this is kind of an homage to that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the little, obviously you've got your suicide theme, and the little boy lashes out, and Zorn's not able to save anybody. But Zorn also does on his way up there. He checks in with little Papa there in his apartment. So like he's to me it's not shown, but it's implied that he's like speaking Chinese, or that he's like ingrained in that culture. So this is another thing where the Magneto piece is not possible.
He talks about how, like, I met this old man and like he reminds me of my uncle in China. Like it's enraging. Like, and I know, James, you talked about this a lot, but like for me, this is my first. Like, I've been going into these naive, so I was just I remembered that it was Magneto, but it's now hitting me, and especially with this episode, this issue being so great, where like you've been given a glimpse of what Zorn could be, and it's just going to be pulled under the rug's going to be pulled under you, and it doesn't make any sense. Like even the first line, like if I could, I would save everyone. Like that, Magneto has never thought like that in his life.
No, and getting back to that central image, he's holding that horse. I thought of like that moment when Nietzsche supposedly, me too. Yeah. So people who don't know, I feel we've mentioned this on the podcast before. I don't know why the fuck we would have occasion to do so, but so when Nietzsche, when he first went mad, this was in 1900. I'm pretty sure there was like some guy who was whipping his horse, and just badly whipping his horse. And Nietzsche ran out like hysterically, so the story goes, and started like hugging the horse, and he just fucking broke down, and then he didn't unbreak down after that point. And yeah, like that's not really at play, and like Zorn is nothing like Nietzsche, like really nothing like Nietzsche. But it's an interesting parallel, and I don't know if it was intended or not.
But it is like in the sense of like an existential gesture of like empathy in the face of trauma. Like I think it's a symbolic moment. Like I think that I think for sure that had to have been on their mind.
Yeah. So I've got two things that interest me about Zorn's connection to China, and then an irony. So he says, in China, there's an old man who knows the roads of Urumqi below the Lake of Heaven in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, right? And it's Uyghurs, right? He comes from a region that is 45% Uyghurs. That city that he refers to later, Gao Chang, is 77% Uyghurs. It is entirely possible that Zorn is a Uyghur, and I don't know if Morrison intended that, because I think Morrison just picked that area because there's an old temple there that it's all named after. I think that there's like a spiritual thing, but there's also like a synchronicity. Like this is the irony of this, the potential irony of Zorn being revealed to be a Magneto is like, and I would say like as we're going to see increasingly through this book, Grant Morrison's new atheist attitude towards Islam and towards terrorism in general, that's a deeper irony, because like the Zorn character is potentially Muslim. Maybe it wasn't raised that way because they were in a prison their whole life. Morrison sells it as largely Buddhist, but like I can't put aside the possibility that Zorn is even that much more of an ironic character. Yeah. Anyway, it'll some of this stuff will sort of make a bit more sense later, but And then the irony, sorry, the funny irony that made me just really want to slap Morrison in his stupid Jeff Loeb face is this idea that so Zorn is a star, right? He's got all this light within him. And I think what Morrison later on is going to be like, oh, it's like a star, like magnetism and stuff. But like the irony is like magnetism cannot affect photons. There's no relationship between the two things.
There you go.
And so I was like, oh, Jesus, Morrison, you fucking idiot.
Well, and like Chris said too, right? Even right at the beginning, like if I could save every life, I would do it. If there was any indication that he was not going to use Zorn as an original character, there is like, you could easily just have said, if I could save every mutant life, I would do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he gave zero Easter eggs, zero. This wasn't a plan. It like plain and simple.
No.
It wasn't there.
The absolute worst is that it's all internal dialogue. Like, he's not trying to trick anyone. This is Zorn's thoughts to himself.
Yeah, he says he's keeping a journal.
Mind. Yeah.
How does he put it? From that old man, he buys like instruments to put his thoughts. The tools to set down my thoughts and freeze them in the form of these symbols. So like he's writing all of this. It's fucking dumb. And yeah, like I can't see past this, so like it's just hackery, just stupid hackery. Second police shooting in Morrison's X-Men run thus far, where someone is like just fucking gunned down by either a sword or what did they fucking flamethrower this fucking guy?
Yeah, this guy. They're like, get out of the way, guys. I gotta play. There's humanity. All
not to mention they torched a woman. He had his mom in his arms, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he did. Yep.
Oh shit, I didn't even realize
they just set a live woman on fire.
Yeah.
She was dying from an overdose, but I mean,
they didn't know that.
Yeah. That's very New York cop of them, but
it's true.
He's just saying cop in general, like
medicine make better, like just that. It's so heartbreaking.
And there's like 10 days. In 10 days, it would have been all right. He would have awakened to his potential. Fuck that.
Yeah.
The boys in blue.
Yeah, and it's all lit blue, right? And it's you're just like, wow, like so that's meaningful. That's not a depiction that would have been popular post 9/11. So I think we should just kind of recognize that Morrison got away with this.
Yeah, balls.
Yeah. And then he just and then he looks back in, like, all this talk about like I look back in time. Like things bend around me or whatever. Like there's just like, I loved the true sort of post-human potential of Zorn within this, and like the actual student, like because Scott and Jean are students of Xavier in the way that they can be, right? And they're exemplary students, but Zorn was something different, something sort of alien, like in a way that mutants tend not to be, but could be. So I'll always really value this particular issue, just for giving us that, but I'll never forgive Morrison for just taking a big shit all over it. Anything else about the Zorn issue?
No, I don't think so.
I think I'm going to come back to the tribes thing, but we're going to do that once we start fucking talking about Phantom X.
Charles' speech, you mean, about to
yes,
Zorn?
Yeah, like flags and books and laws and shared ideal and all that stuff. I think in light of some of the things that we see next, we can come back to that. Okay, yeah. So we got a 3-issue mini story here where the X-Men are going European, at least. They're going to be they're in Paris. And yeah, there's a rescue mission, that kind of thing. What do you guys think of this?
I kind of like it. I think it might be the unpopular.
Oh,
opinion here.
you're not the only one who likes it. I just want to give Phantom X.
No, you might be.
No, I like all this stuff.
Well, yeah, sure.
There's something
Okay,
about,
so Chris, you liked it. What do you like about it?
it feels like the first real indication of a new direction for X-Men. Because the first, I mean, there's huge events that happen, but it feels within the scope of what X-Men usually is. Now we have, I mean, I think the idea of the X Corporation is stupid for the reasons we kind of you kind of alluded to last time. This sort of like faith in the corporate structure as having transformative potential seems very naive, but nevertheless, like this idea that we're a corporation, we will be here to help mutants. It's something different. The tale, the sort of story that the conspiracy angle that we get with Phantom X, interesting to me. I like this weapon like this expansion, this blowing up of like the Weapon X, it's not a Weapon X, it's Weapon 10, even though that idea is like so like really stupid, because they would have had to have been wandering around Wolverine saying like, yeah, you're Weapon 10, like.
Well, it's still, though, it's one of those like hiding in plain sight ideas that was just waiting to get picked up.
It's fun. And in fact, here's how you justify that. Like, the whole program was actually Weapon 10, but then like everyone on the ground was just told that it was Weapon X or whatever. So like, his handlers just called it. Or
they never. I don't even know if they ever actually called it Weapon X. Like I know that, like, if you go back to, oh no, I'll take it back. Barry Windsor Smith's series is called Weapon X, but I don't know if they probably say it a ton in the book, and I just don't remember. So I'll just shut up.
I can't remember either if they go like codename Wolverine most of the time.
I don't think so, because he's not the Wolverine yet, right? I don't think I don't know what they do. We'll have to go back. We've never covered the original Weapon X. I fear that there's not actually a whole lot to say. Like you'd just be like, fuck, this art's cool, and with that dialogue's very weird. Yeah, I think I did it. That was it. Weapon X covered. Okay, yeah, we're getting a more global. We're getting, the world's getting big. The X-Men's been very small up into this point. Like, it's weird to say there's been a galactic imperial invasion, but it was just like genocide. Some people they're just, and a genocide. But for the most part, it's just taken place at the X-Mansion, and that's it. With some kids and stuff. Like, it was necessary, but now we're just getting out there a little bit, and the issue's even called New Worlds. So they know what they're doing. I would have appreciated if the other mutants had similar costumes, and instead they have like their normal costumes. This is the beginning of a battle between Morrison and the merchandisers of Marvel. And at a certain point, accounting and the president, like the publisher, Bill Jemas of Marvel Comics, they were just like, well, we need to sell these things, we need to sell licensing, and these new costumes or whatever, they're not doing it. There's not a variety, so there was a pull and a push. Yeah.
I had a question with this, because
really?
There's a part where Professor X is standing at the window and he's like, that young man is saying how cool the X-Men look. Do you think that Morrison's patting themselves on the back over his designs?
Oh, it's entirely possible. That's funny. I'm looking at it right now. How cool those X-Men looked on TV. I think it's the TV part. Morrison's idea, like you saw that with Zorn as well, when he's talking to the fella from the Uyghur province. The guy's like, oh, I'm really glad to see that someone has done so well on TV. So I don't even know if it has anything to do with the costumes so much as just like the fact that the X-Men are being put on television, which feels so also, 2002.
In that statement, I feel like in the way that Morrison has hyped, like you said for that first image, like we're not going to do the same thing anymore. You can stop doing that.
Yeah.
Like there's been this sense that the project has been reformed or made bigger or more accessible, and the whole sort of idea of taking these symbols and like just kind of like the larger than life icons and like the symbolic potential, I guess, of the X-Men is something that's very present, I feel, in the sort of the way that the book looks at fame and presence and image on TV.
Mm-hmm. I think you're onto something. I think that and it's not uncommon for Morrison to make comments like that.
No.
But in this one, they seem to be a bit more interested in it than they otherwise would be, because like there's an understanding that if you're gonna fight for the rights of something, like it's a war of hearts and minds, it's a propaganda war, and what I hear Professor X saying in that moment is like our propaganda mission is highly effective at the present moment, which is fine. That's just like that sounds more nefarious, but like that's how you deal with fucking humans, right? Sadly, there's so many of us, and through mass media, you end up sort of there's a war, there's an info war going on. I'm gonna go full fucking Alex Jones here. And it's nice to see Professor X and Jean hanging out. I like the two telepaths hanging out because they have an understanding that is very much beyond anyone else's understanding of humanity, particularly the sorts of telepaths that they are. So they get along well. Like Scott is his best student, but actually Jean is his best student.
I love this Jean. I think one of the best decisions this book makes is separating Scott and Jean so that she can have an identity of her own as a teacher, as a protege, as someone who's kind of like making her own path. And this conversation they have over the power of the Phoenix and what, like, she's basically just saying, like, help them understand that, like, I'm not a threat, and he's scared of her too. But I do feel like in this conversation it's coming out that like she's definitely right. She's just has this confidence now. When he's talking, he's like, if I came any closer to the thoughts of the Phoenix, like my own thoughts would melt away like ash. And she's like, only the thoughts that you wouldn't need in the light.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
And also, like, are these thoughts, these words from the future? I'm like, that shit gets repeated later, and I can't remember when. Or has it already been said? Like, I just know that Morrison echoes this in a sort of Time Machine Go kind of way. I thought about the light, and we're going to have an opportunity to sort of think about what the Phoenix is later through Riot at Xavier's, and then also at Here Comes Tomorrow at the end. Like, the Phoenix is we've already seen them sort of cast as a symbol of the oppressed rising up, or of like dangerous minorities or what have you, like the rising up. But I think they serve like sort of. I was thinking of the Invisibles. Like what is the white? What is the light? Right? What happens when you dig everything away? It's the white of the comics page. So Morrison's making moves here to make it sort of metatextual and bring in some of those things. But it's not immediately apparent. But this is the seed of that. Which brings us finally to Phantom X, maybe.
To enter Phantom X?
Phantom X comes in. Also, another I will say that another terrible image of the Phoenix when Jean is the house where I live, Charles, and it's just like, it just looks like a terrible drawing.
I had a thought. So, and actually I'm angry at you because you said, you implied that maybe Corday just couldn't draw like space and like terrestrial things would be more grounded. This is not the case. I do wonder if Corday can't draw people sitting though, and like maybe because like space people are all like sitting in their command consoles. but like every single picture of someone in a chair is just fucking hideous.
Yeah.
That's true. It's almost like they're like the most aggressive I could be sitting in, like, I wouldn't say a sexual way, but in order to really like forward face my genitalia as aggressively as possible and maybe frame it with my hands.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm looking at the image right now.
That's how every single Corday image person sits, male or female. It's genitals first, real handsy, and a lot of like sort of hips out.
Yeah.
It's like even cross-legged people if people could have a knee up, knee on the table. You got to believe it's going to be all that. And and a funny thing is too, there's an accent on it in his artwork. There's like his perspective is going to increase the size of the genitalia in every image as well.
Yeah, yeah, like it's coming up from below. Like where's it's not Professor X looking across. It's like he's kneeled down.
And the heads have to be smaller, and you're getting like you're right beside the person's knee if you were a camera.
Yeah. Anyway. And I want to emphasize, like, her nipples are huge. Like it's very strange.
Hang on a second.
It's true. Yeah.
No, like, I don't know if we got that with Emma, but it's just, you know.
Well, that's the Phoenix. Yeah.
You think that's the Phoenix coming? It's the ultimate matron. Anyway, it's an unfortunate image, and yeah, Corday can't be trusted with these sort of things, but otherwise,
and Corday is like Matrix Forks too. Like all of this is so bad, and the faces are bad, and I hate it.
These are characters that made my pre-adolescent heart speed up, you know, and like just to see Emma Frost sitting here like a fucking goblin, like trying to look all seductive, just it's hard to look at.
Oh God,
is that the finger bite?
Yeah, the finger bite.
Oh yeah.
No.
Come to Auntie Emma? Is that?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Is that at the end of this issue?
I spend a lot of time on that image too.
Oh yeah.
Much to my own chagrin because of the detail that was put into it, and I'm like, I'm like, force yourself to make it sexy. Force yourself, James. Find it.
Yeah.
Try to understand what he was trying to do, and I cannot.
It's like he gave her crotch like a 4-pack or whatever. Like it's like she's got.
It's a bulge. It's like a container.
Zipper?
It's like
Yeah,
that zipper comes halfway down to expose a full package. Is what it looks like.
She's got like 2024 Madonna abs too. It's just like, it's a lot.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, implants and then just like a gangly frame, like legitimately like almost like a golem.
She does, yeah. It's got more golem vibes than sexy vibes. Like if she was sitting across from me, I'd be like, you know, she wants the precious. I gotta get out of here.
No.
Anyway, we avoided talking about Phantom X.
Yeah, you gotta go backtrack.
That's my fault. That's my fault.
It's all misdirection.
It's all right. It's fine.
Like,
we have to understand.
Woman?
You have to understand Corday's perspective here. Now I'm back on Phantom X sitting handsy in the crotch.
So, when in this first issue, we don't get a whole lot of him, right? Like he's, we know that. Okay, so the X-Men team is being sent off. There's some sort of disaster that they're going to go address under a bridge. They understand that there's a mutant, you know, gene hazard or something. Meanwhile, we've got Phantom X killing special forces guys and treating them like pieces of shit. And he sneaks into the X Corp, the X Corporation, and you know, like forces Jean and Professor X to kind of give him asylum. And that's what. And during this time, he's showing that he's really smart, right? He just knows the score. He knows what's going on.
Yeah, he's obviously he's dangerous because he just took out a SEAL team. So he's He's like he's like a little Batman-ish.
Yeah.
You're more right than you realize. Spoilers for the Omega Plus program. It's basically going to be revealed that he was Batman in some sort of Justice League thing that they were trying to create to destroy mutants on Earth. We'll get to it later, but yeah, he's Batman. He's meant to be as like the God Bats, the Morrison Batman, which is he's got those vibes. Like, so friend of the podcast D was asking who's the Morrison stand-in in New X-Men, and Cyclops is an obvious candidate, but I think Phantom X is another candidate. But I don't know if did they end up being bald? Do we ever see their face?
I think they do. Yeah, I think.
Who?
If I'm not
Phantom
mistaken.
X?
Phantom X, yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember. It would have been late in the series.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't recall it.
No, me either.
Yeah. So he's just kind of like I don't know if he's a stand-in for a sort of Grant Morrison character, but he might be. His JLA run is sort of still haunting this series. Like, it hasn't been that far in the past, right? And Morrison's still kind of going through those ideas, and again, we'll get a chance to talk about it later. But for now, I find him kind of insufferable at this point, and I hate the design. He just all white leather is not cool. It never was.
It's
Just
true.
gonna say that.
No.
Padding, not very cool.
Well, anything leather was never cool, which is probably like a beef on these outfit designs too.
Oh, don't be like that. Black leather's not cool. You're telling me that black leather's not in any way cool.
No. And it's okay. You know what? I'm going to let you slide on a little grease there. But
Sure.
I'm going to say, yes, in some certain circumstances, black leather is like cool in sort of a skid way.
Mm-hmm.
But in the way that Morrison portrays any type of leather is padded.
Yeah.
Now, padded leather is not cool. Padded leather is fucking Napoleon Dynamite-ish. And that's the leather that Morrison tends to use. I don't know if it's a descriptive thing, or I don't know if both and all subsequent artists want padded leather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense as but you're right though. Everybody looks like they're motorcycle enthusiasts rather than like Harley enthusiasts, right? Like or even like dominatrix. Even the sex aspect of leather is missing from so much of the costumes. They're just they just look like they're safety conscious for high speed.
Yeah. They look like they're gonna shake a Hell's Angels hand in the bar and be like, I got a bike outside too.
Yeah.
I feel like
I guess the only one who pulls it off is Wolverine. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, that's it. Actually,
but
you're right.
Wolverine probably has just a leather jacket, but like not leather pants. And I feel like that's sort of it's just too much leather.
Well, he just doesn't wear a shirt. He's just like, well, fine, you want me to wear this thing, fine. And then he doesn't zip it up. Like, they're just always zipped up. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, you got these long sleeve turtlenecks. Like, are you guys okay? Are you worried about the sun? Worried about cancer? It's okay. Your guys are mutants. You're okay. Maybe that they're worried about secondary mutation, I suppose.
Maybe.
Okay.
Corporal Animal's not worried about secondary mutation. What kind of Garth Ennis shit is this with the mental defective guy that goes after the psychics?
Where is he? Yeah, corporate animals. Well, this is again back to Morrison being funny. I'm a trially trained death machine with no human feelings, sir. I don't know. It's just kind of funny.
I love that there's just no these special forces are absolutely no threat, and it's just played for fun, and it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of required. Like, it can't be too serious, but do the tonal shifts and getting back to the Zorn issue, like, tell that to Snuffy, like I don't know why they're doing this. Like, pick a tone. It's okay. If you're gonna put jokes within a tone, you can still do that. Which again, getting back to like later on by 2003, Bill Jemas is going to be on the phone with Grant Morrison. Like the publisher of Marvel directly is going to be on the phone having yelling matches with Grant Morrison about how their writing is fucking weird. And like stop it.
Get out, really?
Yeah. And that's ultimately that's why they left, because they had other plans.
I thought that's why they brought him on.
Well, that's right.
It
does beg the question of like, why did you do that then? Why did you bring Grant Morrison?
Why would you hire him? There's other good writers if you want like a streamlined fucking story.
So the newest issue of the Comics Journal has an extensive feature on Bill Jemas, and the answer to the question is that Bill started reading about storytelling and started writing his own comics, which were atrocious, and just started having all these like he got on a weird power trip and started like really, and anyway, it turned into a fucking mess. But the funny thing is, like, I just like at this point you can start to almost feel it, like Jemas is going to be in the background, because
One day we have to look at least one Bill Jemas comic.
Oh yeah, well there's a humdinger. Don't worry, guys.
Who the fuck is Bill Jemas?
It's on my mind. Yeah, the old Marvel.
Nice.
What?
It's called Marvel. It's terrible.
Oh god, that's already insufferable.
Yes.
Wow.
So okay. Sorry, I cut us off. Oh, with the animal thing, with the tones and stuff. Okay. It is fun, but it's also like, yeah, it just kind of sticks out a little weird. Because the stakes are really high. Like something bad is happening
politically, right? But like the actual threat of like a human special forces team coming in, like nothing, like from like Master Killer Phantomics to two of the world's most powerful psychics. So it's just it is so funny that this guy's inflated sense of confidence, and just like I love Phantomics being like, any one of us can like fuck this guy up. So the peace lobby want to have a crack before I erase them, and then you just kind of cut to him like just sitting there like having a therapy session.
He's just sort of, when my dad died, I was too young to make sense of it. I was just 4, and he just goes through this whole thing. Like and it's so the psychology, like he put this armor around himself. It's been hard to feel through all that protection. And I finally this is there's it's bioenergetics. It's a very particular type of, it's Reichian. Sort of this idea that you build this body armor around you, like the tension that you establish in your life bodily is the thing that prevents you from having sort of like a proper psychic flow, like a flow of psyche and proper emotions and that sort of thing. And so this guy's like, he's just like, I was just so tense and angry and militaristic, and like I was an agent of Empire because my daddy died once, right? Like it's shield around my heart. Yeah. I don't know. It's like there's something at work there that makes the comedy, like he manages to get something out of the comedy. And again, back to how does Professor X deal with things? And he's going to do this again later. Like he just sort of shows you the error of your ways, right? Like actually you have body armor from the trauma that you experienced when your father died.
That's exactly what feels so appropriate. It's like, he's taking the opportunity to just sort of like heal this guy in some way. Maybe I'd be better off working with special needs kids.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's just like it's true to the pacifist mission of the X-Men, like whenever possible, like do no harm to the extent that you can. Like he truly, you get the impression like that Animal he's going to be a good guy now, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know, right? Like maybe not. Like lots of people have sort of epiphanies and then still like shit the bed and beat their wife, right? This guy's future is still unwritten, but there's hope for him at least. just I just can't imagine the animals. But I guess when the Phoenix Force and Professor X get their mitts on you,
Oh boy, yeah, that's
you're good and
transformative.
reformed. Yeah.
Burn off some of those bad thoughts. I feel like there must be some kind of joke somewhere in Phantom X2 because like his mutation is literally a vehicle for conspiracy. Like he projects this UFO from his mouth.
Yeah, that's revealed to be his mutation.
Yeah, which is fucking weird. I still have a hard time grasping that.
Well, yeah, and it's like it's his nervous system outside of his, like he gave birth to it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It is sort of like it's not the first time we've seen a truly bizarre mutation within X-Men. Like, remember, James, you remember Maggot?
No.
No, well, you don't remember Maggot, from Joe Madeira's? Like, he was basically a guy who had 2 big centipede creatures, and he was all purple, right? Like, what the fuck's up with that guy? We had Marrow, her bones were all protruding and stuff like that. Like, it's
that was on one of the early, well, not early, but that was like one of the hacks at sort of making more sort of deviant types of mutants, where
yeah.
But I mean, I guess it all sort of rolls back to Morlocks, right?
Yeah, it
True.
does. Yeah, that's exactly it. And so, he himself is all like white leather cool, but like his mutation is this like fucking like insect creature sphere that, this womb that he goes into. It's
it's
like
kind of gross.
Also, yeah, it's gross. But it's also like it's also as I'm looking at it now, it's sort of reminiscent of Cerebra. It's another instance of just the womb.
Amplification.
Yeah. What really bothers me about Phantom X and why these comics can go fuck themselves is this idea that, like, so he comes home and then there's this woman that's supposedly his mother, and Professor X and Jean Grey are there, and they're like, they are fool, because it's revealed at the end that, like, it was all a fraud. Like, he had only escaped a few hours ago. So are you telling me that Phantom X, having escaped only a few hours ago, he didn't actually do this whole thing, right? He didn't, the Professor X and Jean Grey didn't actually ever go anywhere. They were sort of abducted. They get into his womb ship, and then they're bamboozled. Like, it's like he rewrote their memory. And I just have so much trouble thinking that any new character can bamboozle Professor X and Jean Grey. Like, you'll never get me to suspend my disbelief enough to accept that. It's another Jeff Loeb fucking shit show.
Yeah, the same thing with, like, you give me the psychic helmet protection. That's cool, but then your mutant spaceship womb would not have any type of psychic protection from Jean Grey and Xavier, and you would not be able to bamboozle them.
That's even better, right? And so like,
it's just, you can't, it's just like, I don't know, it's there's a lot of laziness for the best writer in the world.
It's
either just carelessness, or
I think so. It's brazenness.
Yeah.
I think it's just like, I'm not going to care about consistency or narrative coherence. It's just like, we're just gonna have some fun, folks.
The mind's going so fast, and he never stops to filter it out. Like, he never stops to, like, I'll just write my way out of it later if I have to.
Or it's just like, this is an X-Men book and fans are idiots and fuck it.
I think this is their worst, like, because they've done extensive series, like their Batman run. There's nothing like this. It's like seeds are actually planted. Like it's so, it's not brilliant or whatever. It's not like clockwork, but you're like, oh, okay, yeah, everything's in order. Everything's in order here. Okay. But this is just like, yeah, it's disorderly, it's careless, it can be viewed as careless. Well, it's careless in the sense that they truly don't care. And we see it with the Zorn reveal. And you can feel it. Like, Morrison's insulting our intelligence as X-Men fans, which is a really stupid thing to do because like the one thing that the X-Men comics have is some sort of like quote unquote realism. Like what did Chris Claremont bring to the X-Men? Is like some sort of like emotional verisimilitude, if not like realism. You could just count on like this is what if X happened, it made sense later. Even if it was kind of weird or whatever, like you could just count on the book having substance and yeah, like I'll allow for a lot of playfulness, but I just like kind of go fuck yourself, Morrison. That's when it comes to this Phantom shit. Go fuck yourself.
What do you think of Phantom X's like just absolute callousness?
That's a weird one too. Like all that, like I'll do whatever for money thing.
Yeah. Life's hard, boohoo. Like just like people's teammates are dying. I like that he brushes off the Multiple Man though.
When does he brush off Multiple Man? Sorry.
It's I think in the third issue, like he introduced himself. He's like, "Good for you," basically. Like,
right.
He just runs in there. That's proper.
Yeah, that's fair. Multiple Man deserves that.
Yeah. I think that Multiple Man is just comic relief of like the, hey, have you ever tried to have an orgy with yourself?
I was joking about that or when we were earlier, not that specifically, but just the disrespect that was given to X Factor.
Yeah. It's X Factor and X Force. Like it's all like, yeah. I'm always going to be unhappy when Cannonball gets a bad deal because he's nigh invulnerable when he's blasted, and I'll always love that. But yeah. So what do I think of this mercenariness of him? Like I don't know what to think of it. Like I don't think it adds up to anything. He's a character in search of he's a bunch of things that happen in search of a character.
Yeah.
And I really don't think he actually gets it later.
Even within the same issue, it's like, oh, like I will give you the information if you give me like billions of dollars. Oh no, I was just testing your morals. And like it's just like there's no consistency. You don't really know where he falls.
Yeah.
He's and got maybe like that's a Wonka like sense of wonder at times, like in his decor and like tossing money around, but
I do like when he has to do one of the things that we're going to see as we go on in this. Humans may not have special extra senses, but they're very skilled manipulators and they know how to make weapons. This contrasts with what Professor X's view of humans when he's talking with Zorn. Think of it this way: with no other special gifts than its intellectual skills, mankind has survived for many thousands of years in a dangerous world. Professor X characterizes it as intellectual skills, but you could very easily like replace intellectual skills with like highly manipulative. They're skilled manipulators and they know how to make weapons. That's how they've survived. It's maybe that's the distinction. Maybe that's the that's what Phantom X is meant to. He's meant to be like sort of a dark mirror of Professor X, in that sense. Which would be funny. It's weird to have Professor X excise his demons only to be immediately confronted with yet another one. Actually, and that's going to happen with Riot and Xavier as well. Interesting. I don't think I thought that before, but yeah, this is very much a series of stories that, although Scott and Jean and Emma, that triangle is going to form. It might also very well be that this is just all about Professor X's. It's just about the testing of the ideology of the X-Men, and he says it explicitly.
He is very flustered, and it's actually this already just struck me is that like he's very flustered that this man is confronting him with greed to hand over everything he knows about this program.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's like founded this corporation, and like that's the sort of like mode that he's operating in now.
So the X Corp to my mind, like I've been thinking about this a lot for a long time, and like it's more like a non-governmental organization that is called a corporation.
Yeah.
I think that because we're going to come back to the U-Men later, and I think that like John Sublime or whatever, like Morrison does complicate the concept of the corporation, and specifically, well, I'll just say that he complicates the notion of the corporation, and we'll talk about it later when we get to the U-Men. What we are seeing here, though, and now's the opportunity to get back to the speech about tribalism and all that sort of thing. Like Morrison's, this is about, he's a globalist, right? Morrison's a globalist, and there's this idea that like as we come together. So everybody had tribes, everybody had nations, everybody had religions. You had your Christianity, your Islam, your blah, blah, blah. You got your Ukrainians, you got your people from Norway, you got your Canadians, you got your Americans. Like all that stuff is nothing. Like all of that stuff is a blob, actually. Like what Morrison's arguing in Professor X's thing. And like the only thing that's truly real is the global, right? And so and the only thing that can be truly global is a corporation. It is what I think Morrison, that's where they land. Like they're very, I said it in the Invisibles thing and I'll say it here. Like there's a neoliberal ethos buried under all of his mysticism. Like it's that pipeline. It's that, like, I don't think they even realize how stupid they are. And I mean that with so much love. Or how trapped they are within like a particular ideology, like a moment of the 1990s. They're, for all their self, contemplation and interrogation and that sort of thing, they're a complete failure to escape from it. And whenever possible, a desire to enmesh themselves even further into it. Anyway, and we see this with this idea of the X Corp. And we'll see it later as well. James, you didn't like well, I don't know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like weapon 12, what was he? The bacterial consciousness bad guy?
What was that?
Oh, you tell me, what was that?
I don't know. It doesn't even make sense. It was like a cloud. It was a zombie attack. It was like 28 days later. Yeah. So the zombies attack with fucking blue eyes and energy, and then the best part about that whole scenario with the weapon 12 or whatever is that it happens like underground on some subway tracks for no fucking apparent reason. And then to further complicate that, who's our artist here? Is this Corday himself? No.
It's all Corday. Yeah,
it's nonsensical. Panel to panel, I have no idea what's happening on. All of a sudden, there's a demon rabbit, and then the blue-eyed zombie apocalypse happens. So it's like Walking Dead, and then there's a master pervert in the center that eventually, even though they're in a completely different location, timeline-wise, everyone should already be dead. But Phantom X is just going to jump in there and then just cap everybody once he rides his spaceship into town. And the mushroom-headed demon zombie weapon 12 infects multiple men, and that doesn't seem to affect anything. Anyway, it's awful. It's all just and a lot of it's the fault of the action. Because it was a pure action book. This setup, the sequence, and it was just like, I'm literally watching Phantom X here as I sort of flip through the pages to relive it. Just fire off two guns, John Woo style, but also look like he's on a toilet shitting himself.
Sorry, I just gotta find. I know. Yeah, there we go. You're right. Yeah, he's like,
so
he looks like he's,
and then boom, and then he lands it. So that's like, I guess he was like, was he flipping into the scene after a dog almost?
Well, he was. He did.
The
like,
dog almost got his bag. Yeah, his bag was hanging out. And then, so some of the action, that's actually like, I can see what happened there. I don't know why you would draw that.
I don't know, like, yeah. Okay,
Anyway,
I think
and then
I'm
he
gonna
just
be
jumps
nicer.
onto the scene after almost having
Yeah,
his bag bit. He
yeah.
caps a whole bunch of zombies and just shoots Darkstar in the face.
Nobody does it
Uh,
like me. Yeah.
what an absolute gangster. That's fantastic. Has war begun? And none of this is like of all the cool things you just talked about,
Hmm.
do you feel that any of this had a deeper meaning?
I do. Yeah, yeah. I think that.
Oh, okay.
So, so what? So there's a concept. No. There's this like, okay. So you hear like this concept of like sociobiology. Well, you hear like Professor X kind of talks about it.
The spaceship
Late,
ride.
not the spaceship ride. He's talking about like humans. There we go. Xavier on free. So he talks about intelligent evolutionary process itself. So Morrison, like Professor X, the trip that he's on is like it's intelligent design. There's an intelligent design to the universe, like all of this, all of creation, all of everything. It all has its own consciousness that's trying to manifest itself. Um, and that's cool, all man. But there's a flip side to that, which is sort of like the sociobiology concept. Like, humans are like ants. Humans are like bacteria. Humans are like viruses. Like that there is a sameness at the various levels of creation. Like all the different classes, they all operate on the same sort of principles. And what Morrison is suggesting, not suggesting, like what is happening with the character of Weapon 12 is like it's the attack of sociobiology. It's like this bacterial consciousness, this thing that infects humans. And it's fighting Professor X's sort of bland neoliberal hippie consciousness building peacenik shit, right? And so he's using multiple man to literally battle sociobiology in the tunnels, and the winner gets to choose how evolution happens, either through cooperation or through violence and sex.
Assimilation.
Yeah, or assimilation, right? Although like, is Professor X not assimilating people? Like one person's healing is very similar to another person's statement of like accusation of brainwashing.
I think going into that, like what you were saying about the Grant Morrison doing the good Professor X, I 100% agree with that, and I think that the difference is that this Professor X is conscious of the moral implications of his actions,
Mm-hmm.
and like he asks Guy
Yes.
if he can hijack his body, and
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, don't even try to explain it to me. I don't need to know. Just fucking do it because I just want to rest. And he's like,
Yeah.
cool. That moment is so fucking cool when he's like,
Yeah.
My name is Charles Xavier. I too can see through 1,000 eyes and operate 4,000 limbs, and like all the different multiple men are speaking to the thing.
Yeah.
With his own army.
I loved that.
Really neat. Yeah.
Yep. And then as war begun, and it's another thing. This isn't war. Call it medicine if you like. Like it's him just dealing with corporal animal in a different way, at a different register, and more of a superhero register. I'm not exactly sure how, because it is very much combat, but it's sort of symbolized.
I like the interaction though of like, and that's the fun. Like I love this about X-Men comics is the sort of like, just like what happens if this power goes against this thing, and like although its touch assimilates anything it gets at, the 100 copies of multiple men don't really, they have this sort of resistance to it because they're not the real thing. They're not really a guy. So yeah, it's just like a neat interaction.
Yeah. I wanted to note when he describes to Gene like how this happened, Phantom X says, "So they dipped us into liquid time, Gene, injected us with micro sentinel machines. The world is smaller than this one is ruled, blah blah blah, but micro sentinel machines. So those sentinels, the things that were in their bloodstream or whatever, like it continues to haunt them. Like this is and will throughout the entire X-Men. It's in human technology, it's in Sublime, et cetera, et cetera. And it is this. Yet it's the ghost of imperialism. It's the ghost of like of the military industrial complex. It's always in the background of this series.
Mm-hmm. And not
the
to be
nanobots. In the COVID
exactly.
vaccine.
Oh.
Well, yes.
Giving them the powers.
Grant predicted.
Mm-hmm. It's always in the background, man. I don't know. I don't like all that talk was, anyway. In the 90s, they were always, and this is like, anyone who listens to Knowledge Fight knows this for sure, like, they were always talking about, like, pandemic coming, they're just trying to vaccinate you. Pandemic is coming, they're just trying to vaccinate you. And then when a pandemic happened to actually arrive, of course, they vaccinated everyone. But it was like a fruition of a fantasy that existed for 20 years prior. So, I don't know. Like, I don't think Morrison predicted. I don't think he predicted anything. But two, to the extent that they participate in that sort of discourse, like it's a very old discourse. It was one of those situations where, like, if no, actually, that metaphor wasn't going to work. Anyway, it was just an old story.
And not to be lost here, that because you mentioned the military-industrial complex, like this kind of is another version of our theme of evolution and the different riffs on it. It's that literally the military industrial complex is credited with trying to instead of like letting this termination sequence happen in humanity, trying to accelerate some sort of like forceful change into weapons that would be beneficial to humanity's dominance.
We haven't talked about this. Yeah, we haven't talked about this like kill switch within humanity. This like extinction event that's going to happen in 4 generations or stuff. Like it's mentioned offhand in the early issues, and I think we kind of lost sight of it. I think that's dumb too. And I think it's almost like it's Morrison again going through this 19th century fantasy of what the evolutionary process looks like. This idea that, or early 20th century idea that, like, every once in a while there's an extinction event that is just it just happens, right? Genes turn themselves off. No, they don't. Like, that's fucking stupid. As an asteroid hits or a society fucking eats too much and ends up with a plague or something, like that kind of thing. And yeah, like I know it's an X-Men comic, I know it's a fantasy story, but I'm just like, why did you put that in there? Like, I don't get it. But it is very much like the old, like that is what they talked about. It was just like these extinction events happen. They just happen. They're part of nature. And yeah. I really don't think that anybody talks like that anymore, like without some sort of causal mechanism.
I think there was that sense that Morrison had that everything was speeding up as we approached the millennium or approached like a new era. And maybe I think that's the fire underneath, like it's bubbling the water, right? Where it's like, in order to make the threat to mutant kind or to make like the novelty of mutant kind within the story work is this idea that we're at a tipping point where like this threat to humanity is exacerbated and like literally there's this pressure driving the hatred and the sort of like fear.
Yeah. Well, because like all the like one of the things we saw in the Zorn story is that like there's this idea that mutants they're not just like waking up one morning, and they're not waking up anymore and being people who have lasers shooting out of their eyes. Like they're waking up as like spiritual consciousness. Zorn being like the prime example of it. But he's talking, when he was talking about that little boy, like in 10 days, like what, he describes him in these poetic terms. in 10 days he would have become something new and wonderful. Well, maybe that something never before seen, something rare, unique. Actually, that's not cosmic in any way. It's just sort of like every snowflake is beautiful. Either way, though, there is this idea about like some new aeon breaking through. To use
spirituals, right? It's very like Age of Aquarius, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing we haven't talked about, I don't think, unless there's, if there's something I'm missing that we haven't touched on yet, but we haven't talked about, like, we talked about Emma, but we haven't talked about Emma and Scott. Like, that's bubbling in the background here. The whole, and like there's something very naive about Scott coming to White Queen, and he's like, I think literally he just really wants marital advice from another sexy psychic woman.
That's some bullshit.
Yeah, that's some bullshit. Like, Scott Summers is the worst. Like, we'll get another opportunity to complain about it later, but like, he literally abandoned Madeline Pryor and his son so he could hook up with Jean Grey again. Like, he just fucked off. He just fucking left them. And then supposedly they died or whatever, but like he kind of gave up on them really early. That's canon. Like Professor X, Cyclops needs his demons exorcised, and that's only partially happens. But this is Scott being like pretty fucking dumb. Pretty naive and dumb for like the Captain America of the X-Men.
Yeah, it's really he's not being dumb. I honestly read Scott as like malicious in this. It's purposeful. He's seeking an affair. He's playing coy. Emma's having fun with it. It's just a thrill, and I thought the treatment of it was a thrill as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there was that line earlier when Jean asks, like, did you
sleep with Emma?
Yeah,
She kept me up all night.
That's right. Yeah, like that's on purpose. That's aggressive. That's
it is. He's being obnoxious. He's trying to fight with her.
Yeah. So later issues are gonna kind of exonerate Cyclops a little bit in that, but like that still, even knowing everything that's gonna come later, and all you need is these like 8 fucking panels where he sits down in this lawn chair. First of all, why is he just sitting in these lawn chairs with this woman in this room? Like, I don't get it. And yeah, like you just don't come it's ridiculous. I'm not who I was, and I can't seem to tell her who I am in case she hates what I become.
That's so, yeah, like he's just acting like a grade 12, and she's having fun with it, and they're having a literal affair. They're just having an affair. Because that's played up in the or like, did you guys? I read the whole thing. I read to 133. I don't know.
Yeah, I read the whole thing. Like,
So when Emma dips into his mind when he's piloting that plane. It says you only need your left brain can handle Logan yapping like a dog. Let's bring your right brain back into the and she does everything candlelit, and then puts a pink hue on everything, and then cosplays as Phoenix, and then invites him into a bed. And then and then it's like there's that weird little dip where he's like, sure, Gene, why not? And it's well, okay, is she manipulating his mind? So that he's forced to have an affair, but I don't pick that up. Not at this point, anyway.
Yeah, we'll get a chance to talk about all that later. But at the present moment, like as it's being introduced here, you're like, Scott, you're a fucking idiot. Like, what are you doing? And it's just like, it's kind of a needless soap opera drama, but it's a soap opera, right? Like, Morrison knows what they're doing. They're just like, time to stir the pot. Here we go. It works. At the end, the funny thing though is just like how effective their relationship is going to be, and like it really does sort of make sense. And it's a wonderful pairing. It's just like kind of ham-fisted. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I think that's the new X-Men. The issues that we covered, what they were. Next week we're gonna do Mark Waid. Yeah. We don't usually tell people the stuff that's gonna happen over the course of the month, but me and James are gonna do Batman, Superman, World's Finest, the most recent collaboration with Mark Waid and Dan Mora, because I think it's fun. I think it's Mark Waid having like proper fun and it great art. And then we're gonna start our Ty West trilogy. We're gonna start with X, and then we're going to what's that guy, Shane Black? Yeah, we're gonna do a Shane Black special later in the month with Monster Squad and The Predator. And then we're also going to do Nicolas Cage. We're going back in the cage. We're going to do Con Air. So if anyone wants to prepare for the month, that's how you can do it.
Yeah, it's always just a joy to watch Con Air. I mean,
it's been so long. How else can audience members prepare for the month of October?
Oh, I thought that was it.
Just eat.
That was it?
Candy.
I just meant in general, like any general advice for.
Oh yeah.
Eat so much candy that you gorge yourself and feel sick.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
more of
an
end of
you
the
can
thing.
go
How do
to
you prepare to do that though? Like,
you go to
Well-
Shoppers Drug Mart, you can get some candies. You buy some of those, you support Loblaws, and you maybe get yourself a pop figure,
Yeah.
whatever. It's
gotta
Halloween
train.
themed. You can do it all.
You got to train.
Okay.
Don't listen to anyone who tells you that you're diabetic. Don't listen to anyone who tells you that it's going to kill you. Just do it. It's willpower.
It's consumer.
medicine's not
what you
real.
want.
I think.
No.
Yeah. Like we're all. I mean, it's mind over matter. I think that's well established. Like if you have a positive attitude, positive things are going to come to you.
That's
like The
that's what
Secret?
I've taken from this whole series on New X-Men, actually.
I don't think that's.
Do you think, Morrison? Do you think the new X-Men denies the reality of medicine?
No, I think that it strongly believes in the power of the individual and the self and the mind.
Yeah, and that's how I feel too. And so go out there and buy those candies, folks.
No,
Like James said.
Mm-mm.
Just like James said.
Yeah.
Just do like James said.
Okay.
Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.